Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. We are available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and of course, if you have to, YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, and we are literally live and out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but it's designed for our LGBTQ plus community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television, news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's welcome anchor Jamaal L. Starks. Jamaal, a rare Miami native, also known affectionately as Porcelain. He has been active as vice president of Impulse Chapter Miami, a member of the ballroom community through the House of Gorgeous Gucci, firmly connected to a host of community-based organizations across South Florida, a professional background boasting a 16-year aviation career that led him to oversee the flight operations of 2 major airlines, and a 17-year HIV plus thriver. He's dedicated himself to lead by example that Black queer individuals are inherently worthy of living safe, healthy, and abundantly thriving life without social conditioning. Welcome, Jamaal.
Thank you, Al. Thank you for having me again. Let's welcome anchor Scott Galvin. He is the executive director of Safe Schools South Florida, providing a safe space for LGBTQ plus youth. A member of the North Miami City Council, the longest serving LGBTQ plus legislator in the state of Florida. He sits on the board of directors for the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and volunteers with the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus. Good evening, Scott.
Well, hey. Next, we're going to welcome Cindy Brown. She's an icon in the LGBTQ plus community. She was an early organizer of Miami AIDS Walk, the White Party for Care Resource, and other major events. She's served as the executive director of the Miami-Dade Gay and Lesbian Chamber Foundation and the LGBTQ Visitor Center. She is the founding executive director of Miami Beach Pride and currently serves as the program manager for Jewish Community Services LGBTQ Land of Living program for LGBT seniors. Good evening, Cindy.
Good evening, and thank you for that very warm introduction. And now it's my pleasure to welcome anchor Jeff Oliverio. Jeff is a founder and treasurer of the Hollywood LGBTQ Plus Council, a unique community civic organization in Greater Hollywood. The council will be hosting the 2nd annual My Hollywood Pride on January 29th, 2023. He is also the chair for the 2022 National LGBTQ Force Task Force Gala, Red, White, and You, being held October 22nd at the Miami Beach Convention Center, which I am so excited to go to. The gala, along with its sister event, Winter Party Festival, has given back more than $3.3 million to local LGBT community organizations. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. I have a couple things to talk about quickly before we go on to the next one. We are having a town hall for the Hollywood LGBTQ Council this Saturday. So if you're in the Hollywood area, go to our Facebook page or website for more information from 9:30 to 11:30. And
It's an in-person or online?
it is an in-person event. It's our annual town hall. We've had it previously online and before in person. Kind of sets our agenda for the upcoming year. And yes, the Task Force Gala is coming up, and we are recruiting volunteers and ambassadors for our newly launched after party that's going to be part of the event this year. So go to Task Force Gala to find out more information.
And Jeff, just a quick question. The after party is going to be at the convention center?
It will be
also?
at the Miami Beach Convention Center. We have DJ Joe Pacheco, who is going to be DJing the event. Athena Dion will be hosting.
Who?
Athena Dion. She's a little drag queen from South Florida. TP Lords is also part of the entertainment.
Who?
So we're going to have a few big names
I know.
to entertain the
Getting
crowd.
old is hard to
entertain the
remember
people.
things.
Sad thing. Sounds
And the best part about it is all the money goes towards funding the task force and their mission to help queer the vote this year.
Yeah. Wait, there's an election?
There is an election. Today is is our National Register to Vote Day as well.
Oh, wow.
Very good.
Yeah, big day. So we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, September 20th, 2022.
Well, we begin by queering up South Florida and Florida. The Outshine Film Festival is here as one of America's most important queer film events. We are just days away from the major announcement of the film lineup for the 2022 Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival, Fort Lauderdale edition. The annual festival showcases important film for and by the LGBTQ+ community that is split between two festivals, the Spring Festival in Miami and the Fall Festival in Fort Lauderdale. The festival begins on October 13th with an opening night party at the NSU Art Museum featuring the film The Blue Captain. Make sure you get your tickets for this and other events on Friday, when the full schedule is going to be revealed at outshinefilm.org. And of course, we're very excited to participate with Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network, and we're going to announce on Thursday, we're going to do a special live broadcast of Queer News Tonight at the opening of the Outshine.
Wow, that's great.
yeah.
I will come up to Broward for that
and I went last year. It was the first time I did the opening. It's really a lot of fun. And the reason why it's really important for us to support this event is cultural event support is very different than our social parties, very different than our political activities.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to embrace and support LGBT in a whole different way that also deserves our attention, and that's why we're going to broadcast Queer News Tonight.
Yeah, and I think that LGBTQ film festivals are so important, not only in, I mean, of course, we're in a place where we're more welcomed and accepted, but you know, when these queer films are made, people all over the country can watch them, and they can see what is out there, and you know, maybe sometimes it gives people the courage to come out or know that they're not alone, or say, you know what, I can't live in this city anymore. But you know, film festivals provide that, and it allows all of us to see ourselves on the screen, which for a long time we couldn't.
You know, it's funny, because in my head, at this moment, you make such a good point, Cindy. I'm hearing Visit Lauderdale, and I'm hearing the Miami Beach and Beaches Convention and Visitors Bureau saying, yay, Outshine, because somebody is going to see a movie in Lincoln, Nebraska, and they're going to decide to move to South Florida. Move here to South Florida. We encourage that.
Yes.
Now let's queer politics. Gay-hating grandma announces run for Utah Senate with homophobic rap video.
We're meeting at a time when
Utah District 12, listen up right here. There's a new name on the ballot for the Senate this year. My name is Linda Paulson, Republican and awesome. Love God and family and the Constitution. I tried to get another conservative to run. Nobody could do it, so I'm getting it done. I'm pro-religious freedom, pro-life, pro-police, the right to bear arms and the right to free speech. I want less government control and regulation, want to stop and expose all political corruption where there's integrity, morality, accountability. Government programs should lead to self-sufficiency and support traditional family as the fundamental unit of society. But in schools, they're pushing for new beliefs. And just to clarify, as a female adult, I know what a woman is. I love this country. It's a blessing to be free, but freedom comes with responsibility. The Constitution needs to be protected, not changed or disregarded, but resurrected. If you share my values, if you like what I stand for, then give me your vote on the 8th of November. District 12 needs a choice. Let me be your voice. Linda Paulson. Linda Paulson for Senate.
Salt Lake City's Linda Paulson has recently announced her plans to be on the ballot for Utah State Senate through a rap video. In the video, Paulson rhymes her way through her political values, which include things like loving God, opposing abortion, being pro-religious freedom, pro-police, and supporting traditional family, amongst other extreme right-wing beliefs. She raps, quote, "And just to clarify, as a female adult, I know what a woman is," end quote. This video was posted to Paulson's YouTube channel earlier this month, but didn't get much attention until local media in Utah noticed it over the weekend. Paulson graduated with a degree in family life from anti-LGBTQ+ Brigham Young University in 2007 and wants to ban teachers from talking about LGBTQ+ issues in the classroom. So far, she doesn't appear to have any meaningful endorsements, and according to her campaign's most recent Received Contributions report, she has accepted a total of $4,190.33 in donations. This is in addition to the $5,000 she donated to herself earlier this year. Utah's general election will take place on November 8th. Linda Paulson is running against incumbent State Senator Karen Maine, whose campaign has received nearly $50,000 in donation. Maine was first elected in 2009 and has been the Senate minority leader since 2019. I had to get through reading that without laughing.
I don't think I could have done that.
That rap was so awful. I was waiting for Kanye West to jump in with
The rap world called and wants that term back.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Looking at her, I wonder if she knows
Granny.
the rhyme for the term Grim Reaper. It's her
You know, I
time
don't
is-
know much about this race for Senate, but she's running against a minority leader, so very. I'm making an assumption. I don't know this because I don't know much about this race. That the minority leader is probably an LGBT supporter for this woman to do this. You know, I've got some questions.
I have a lot.
Oh, as do all of we.
My first question is, who contributed 33 cents? I just want to know who contributed 33 cents. You know, I do agree with her on one thing. I do agree with her about free speech.
Absolutely.
That's very, very important. So you have the right to do this. I also have the right in my free speech to tell you how horrible what you just did is. And I would point out, you clearly, as you try to identify, I know what a woman is, I know that you're not LGBT because no LGBT, self-respecting LGBT person would spend the money for that production because they know it would be humiliated and Jamaal would be reading you to filth right after that video came out. At the end of the day, I think it's very, very funny that you have produced this video and why you thought it was a good choice to do rap, to introduce yourself, to run against the minority leader of Utah. Probably it's an indication that you don't make the best decisions.
I agree. And as an adult woman, you're not a good example of an adult woman. Sorry.
She is running on the platform that many Republicans are running on, which is a platform of telling stories about freedom, but not only about freedom when it's about their
freedom.
version of freedom,
Right.
not about controlling your body, about who you love, about what you talk about in schools. So she's for small government, except when it comes to everything else about your body.
Everything else, yes.
Right.
You know, I never want to see a radical Republican evangelical do a rap like this again, except one exception. I highly encourage and would love to see Lady G in South Carolina do something.
I want the word rap to be banned from this story.
Yes.
Because
That's not rap.
It takes lyrical skill. It takes a
Says the
decorative
person
language.
of color at the table. Okay,
like,
let's just
I
accept
wanna-
that and drop mic.
It was a good
Okay.
vibe. I like it.
Poor
Yeah.
poetry.
Up to you, Scott.
Poor person's
Exactly.
poetry. I don't know.
All
So
right.
now we're going to queer up education. Study shows effects of queer book bans as 1,650 titles hold in more than 5,000 schools. Efforts to ban books have gathered enough backing this past year where hundreds of titles cut across thousands of schools. These schools include those who often tackle culture wars issues like gender, sexuality, and race. A study shows, and as per the report published by the anti-censorship group PEN America, in the school year 2021-2022, there were 2,532 instances of individual book bans that affected 1,648 titles at around 5,000 schools with 4 million students. Significant bans were seen in Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, South Carolina, Wisconsin, and Georgia. Frequently banned titles include Genderqueer, a memoir by Maya Kobabe, and The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and was turned into a 2018 movie. As per the report, author Jonathan Friedman, quote, "This rapidly accelerating movement has resulted in more and more students losing access to literature that equips them to meet the challenges and complexities of democratic citizenship," unquote. The banned books were often young adult fiction texts with dealing with subject matter like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer themes with queer protagonists, as well as those that tackle race and identity. Popular novels by Toni Morrison and Khaled Hosseini were also pulled.
It's an intensification, far more book bans sprouting up all over the country than we ever saw before, more formalized efforts, not just a challenge in an individual school system or library, but legislation being introduced in state houses that would affect the availability of books, all over the state in every school and library. The ferocity of the debates and the link to larger political tensions and polarization, it's inflaming communities, and that's something we haven't seen before.
What books do you see most affected? Where's the impact?
It's overwhelmingly books by and about people of color and LGBTQ individuals. So it can be stories about a transgender kind of coming of age story, stories about slavery, about Black Americans and the Black experience and racial injustice in this country. So those kinds of narratives that are something other than kind of a pure, very traditional, what some people might think of as a standard old school American story.
Yeah, so at Safe Schools yesterday, great coincidence, yesterday began Banned Books Week. And Safe Schools South Florida made a donation to the Stonewall Archives Library. We donated several different queer titles with youth-appropriate themes, and we made a donation to Stonewall so that they could have a one-year subscription to an e-books service that's very common with the National Library System. So what that will do is allow kids across the area to check out those gay-themed youth books that we donated, and adults, kids of all ages, to be able to access books through the internet. People try to block books in a physical location. They can't block them and censor them on the internet.
Right.
You know, Scott, I want to ask you specifically, as the executive director of Safe Schools South Florida and the advocacy that you do in schools and for young people. At Core News Tonight, we've reported more stories in the last 5 months on issues related to books and bans and what's going on in schools than in the entire history since we started in January of 2020. What's going on here, and what's going on?
People don't have much imagination, clearly, because their hatred spills forward in a lot of the same ways they have for decades. We've seen book burnings, we've seen book bannings, and they're just falling back on the same tripe that they've tried to put forward for a long time. And the kids are where they're first directing their anger on all sorts of levels, because the kids are one of the groups that's least able to fight.
The least voice.
back.
So
Exactly.
are you suggesting that this will expand and it will spill over into other people of color communities beyond schools and LGBT beyond schools?
I've said on this show, and you could find the tape somewhere and play it back, this is only just beginning. This is not something that's about to go away. The wolf is at the door. Anything you can imagine bad happening to the LGBT community is about to happen if it's not already. So this is, this is not something that's just going to go away because some judge issues an injunction. Get ready, buckle up. The fight is going to spread across all of our
incredibly
platforms.
ominous. You're the top voice in South Florida for the safety of our students and schools, and you are giving us an ominous warning.
Yeah, and I say that same thing to the kids and to the teachers, because they need to all buckle down. Like I say, you can't just think, oh, this is going away. The kids are having a hard time wrapping their head around what's happening, because if you're a teenager in high school, you've always known a world where gay marriage was legal.
Right.
So this concept that people could be coming out against you and banning you and censoring you, they're really like, wait, what is going on? And then the people my age think, well, we fought those battles 50 years ago. We don't have to worry about them anymore. We are exactly back to Anita Bryant right now.
And, one of the sad things about this, especially in the state of Florida, is, students had teachers and counselors that they could go talk to in the past. Their classrooms had, safe space stickers on them. In the schools now, all of those safe space stickers have been removed from classrooms. And teachers and counselors are afraid that they're going to be fired and sued if they try and help these young people.
And to Cindy's specific point, this is the first opportunity I've had seeing you since the news. Miami-Dade County is the second bluest county in the state. The only bluer county is where we're sitting right now in Broward County. Miami-Dade County last year had LGBT History Month in October and voted 7-1 in favor of it. They have just voted 7-1 against doing an LGBT history. It seems to me that's exactly the point that you've just made
They're
in
afraid.
safe spaces, and exactly the point that you have said that this is going to escalate worse and worse. What went on very specifically in Miami-Dade County? How is that possible in the second bluest county in Florida?
When Governor DeSantis removed half of the Broward County School Board, it sent a chilling, huge message to other elected officials and other school boards that if they cross this very vague line of don't say gay and what does that mean, if they cross a line, he'll take them out of office. And, it's sad to say I'm an elected official myself, but often you look at what the impact to you will be as much as what the impact on the public might be. So nobody wants to get arrested as an elected official. Nobody wants to be removed from office. And I think that's why they went the direction that they did. It's not that they probably believe in their heart there shouldn't be an LGBT History Month, but they're afraid.
Well, let me call. I heard you loud and clear, but let me call it out more specifically. Does that mean in the choice of taking on the governor and standing up to the governor versus holding on to their elected position as a school board, that they're just cowards?
Cowards.
I would also say, though, let me play devil's advocate here. While remaining on the school board, they can still have maybe somewhat of an influence. But if they get plucked by the governor, he's going to replace them with ultra conservative. So, playing devil's advocate, I think there's
the Trump model.
I want you, and you're an excellent opportunity for us on this story. Let's say that that's true. Is Miami-Dade County going to accept any governor, but this specific governor, DeSantis, are they going to accept him managing the decision-making on the school board level by this pluck that she just said? Will the voters and the residents of Miami-Dade County accept
I don't think they have a choice.
Ironically, Thursday afternoon, Lucia Baez-Geller, who's on the Dade County Public School Board, and I are hosting a community meeting among some of the power brokers of the LGBT community in both Dade and Broward, because as we talked about a little bit earlier, there's a whole lot of cross-pollination. We have to get not just educational organizations involved in these fights, but we've got to get business leaders, political leaders. We've got to get, those groups that are normally involved in the social fun events. We've got to get them to get serious and buckle down, because they're not going to stop at schools. Christian Coalition will be coming for county commissions and rules that govern housing and employment. Get ready. This is going to
Scott, one last question, and Cindy's going to take us to an international story with the Secretary of State. My last question is, you sit in an interesting role in this conversation. You're an elected city commissioner, North Miami, longest LGBT elected official in the state of Florida in history. So you sit in that position and executive director of Safe Schools. What's it going to take to get specifically Miami-Dade County? We have less concern in Broward, but maybe concern in Broward. But in Miami-Dade County, I think that this vote of the school board shocked all of us that Miami-Dade County could make a decision like this. We're not Leon County. We're not Pensacola. We're not, we're not Sarasota. What's it going to take to bring this to a stop, or at least bring the brakes of what we're watching, almost in terms of a fascist mentality?
Well,
what's it going to take?
And obviously there's an election in November, but let's say that election goes the way of DeSantis. It's going to take repeated draconian instances for maybe Dade Countyans to sort of wake up. I honestly think that we are an election cycle away from gay bars and clubs being raided and customers being arrested and let off. And maybe when it hits that point, people will start to go, oh my God, this is too much. Because we're in a society where people love to watch Law and Order, and 60 Minutes, a story is wrapped up from start to finish in a neat little package. So everybody's just sort of hanging out. I mean, at that school board meeting where Lucia's History Month thing was voted down, there was nobody there from the LGBT business community. There were very few elected officials there. It was all basically a bunch of teenagers and a couple of hippies. And if that's the only troops we're going to send into the battle, we will get our head handed to us every time.
Right. Yeah.
You must cringe at an observation like that.
It's frightening. I know at that school board meeting that it was also attended by the Proud Boys, and the intimidation factor of what these. You have to also feel, I think, in some ways for the school board members who in other places across. Again, I'm not giving an excuse. I'm saying the intimidation that's happening for elected officials, whether you're on an election board, whether you're in these roles, and the intimidation that they're doing to people, I think is again, it's over the top, and it's only going to get worse. So yes, we need to have people that have backbones that will stand up and do the job that they were elected to do, and it's to represent all of the people of Miami-Dade County.
Sometimes doing your job means risking your job.
It does.
Risking everything. Actually, and I do want to move on to Cindy, but I was thinking as you said that, it seems like we're either there or virtually there, that we've got to implement the old drag queen mentality of hold my hair. Because we're going to war now. That's what we're getting ready to do.
Well, now let's queer up the worldview. Secretary of State Blinken speaks about need for LGBTQ plus worldwide rights.
We're meeting at a time when the movement for equality is showing some encouraging momentum. A few examples. This summer, St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda became the latest governments to decriminalize homosexual acts. A month ago, the government of Vietnam announced that homosexuality, bisexuality, and transgender identity cannot be considered illnesses, and that LGBTQI plus people cannot be subjected to so-called conversion therapy. At the same time, for that progress, which is real and which is worth underscoring, we know that people worldwide continue to experience alarming levels of violence, discrimination, isolation. Risks are the highest for people with disabilities, people of color, refugees, and LGBTQI plus women. Transgender people are often denied access to legal identity documents that reflect their names and gender markers. Intersex people, including minors, continue to be subjected to unnecessary surgeries without their consent. All countries, including those of us in the core group, have work to do to ensure that LGBTQI plus people have the same rights, the same protections as all other people. Defending these rights is central to the health of our democracies. Any system where some groups are treated as less than simply because of who they are is fundamentally flawed. Standing up for LGBTQI plus people is a top priority for our administration.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken spoke at an LGBTQ+ and intersex rights event on Monday. The event took place on the eve of the UN General Assembly. While giving his remarks at LGBTI Core Group, he noted that the meeting is taking place at the right time when the movement for equality has gained encouraging momentum. He pointed to the decriminalization of consensual same-sex acts in St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda. He also noted the recent announcement made by the Vietnamese Health Ministry saying it is no longer considers LGBTQ+ people to be sick. He also encouraged that people across the world continue to experiencing alarming levels of violence, discrimination, and isolation. Blinken said, risks are the highest for people with disabilities, people of color, refugees, LGBTQI women, and LGBTQI women. Transgender people are often denied access to legal identity documents that reflect their names and gender markers. Intersex people, including minors, continue to be subjected to unnecessary surgeries without their consent, end quote. President Biden, in February of 2021, signed a memo that committed the U.S. to promote LGBTQ+ and intersex rights abroad as part of his administration's overall foreign policy. The White House, 4 months later, appointed Jessica Stern as its special envoy for the promotion of LGBTQ+ and intersex rights overseas. Well, it's interesting that around the world, we're getting more rights and equity is advancing, but here in the U.S., we feel like we're taking steps backward and backward. And
why do you think that's happening?
I think it's like a pendulum. I believe it happens
to your specific point that you see expansionist rights around the world and voices, but we are seeing a retrenchment in America. Any feelings as to why?
Well, perhaps it's that, America had done it initially, and other countries perhaps looked at us and looked at other countries who were more progressive as well and said, you know what, this is what we should be doing, and recognized that was progress.
The advances you're seeing across the globe are coming because those communities are fighting. They're advocating.
Yes.
They're sacrificing. They're dying. Here in America, we go to pool parties.
Right.
And until that changes, we're done for. And that's why I say things are so dire. We've lost the oomph to fight. It's easier to just go along because the Proud Boys are outside than it is to...
I just hope we don't have to do this bullshit in another 30 years. I mean, we did this before.
4 months from now.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe everything has become commercialized. Everything has become, America has a culture that does not prize anything from the spirit. Right now, it's all about money. It's all about capital gain. Even being LGBTQ doesn't feel like it did before, like it's something authentic. It just feels like I'm a package now. I come in a nice package deal. Everything comes in a package deal. And so therefore, everybody has now treated it as such, even those within the community.
But I was going to say, I have to agree with Scott too, is that, you know, you look at like an example, it's the election season and trying to find people that are, I've gone out and with SAVE doing, you know, door knocking in the middle of August. It's not a fun thing to do. No. It's hot, it's, you know, but if you look at a pool party or events that are going on and they're filled with people that seem to have plenty of time on a Saturday or Sunday too. Right. And it's not to critique people enjoying themselves, of course not, but our rights are on the line. This is not just a, oh, let's get my candidate elected. Yeah. This is your ability to have that pool party might be taken away. Right. And your ability to be present in our culture as who your authentic self is might be taken away.
You know, it's such a good point. And to my question that I asked you, Cindy, the reason I make the connection of what we're seeing in other places in the world, especially as example, the European Union. The European Union has stood up to Belgrade over the weekend on Europride, and Serbia backed down to the whim of and desire of the Union because their admission to the Union was greater than their religious zealotry against LGBT. A $4.5 billion penalty has been announced on Hungary and Poland in terms of their civil rights rejections. And now Hungary is going to have to decide, can we live without this and the European Union to justify our religious zealotry and hatred, our state-sponsored hatred? Every indication to me currently says the European Union is going to win. Poland will lose, Hungary will lose, Serbia will lose. That's going on in Europe. My question is, well, when Blinken is talking about, the Secretary of State is talking about the worldwide expansion, what we saw in Vietnam, what we saw in the Caribbean and the motions, etc. The reason we're not seeing this, we don't have the same feel here, is the actions here are not because of religious freedom. They're not because of radical religious zealotry. They are because they are the best way to win elections. And because they're the best way of winning elections, and because they want to win more than we do, because they want to put people on the Supreme Court more than we do, they are going to work harder to get what they want. And that's the proof of it. And it started to get implemented in 2015 with Donald Trump. And to bring Trump and the Supreme Court to him and the administration of the White House to them so they could make more money. The corporate mentality of the gigantic tax breaks could come. They want to win the election. And the best way for them to win the election is to do the strategy that we're watching and unfolding. And we have not responded to it in the way we needed to respond to it. So our advocacy organizations are getting their asses kicked, frankly. And we are not winning. And even Miami-Dade County, where a year ago, if we'd said, okay, thank you very much for having LGBT History Month in October on a 7-1 decision, 12 months from now, you're going to vote exactly the opposite. Everyone would have said to the anchors of Queer News Tonight, that is impossible, you're an idiot now. And I'm sitting here now. That's the reason why Blinken's words are so important of what we're seeing around the world, but not here.
Exactly.
Because they want to win elections, which is why your comments are so important. And why? Because of money, which is why your comments are so important. And the elected official sitting at the table going, I'm ringing an alarm bell. It's a 5-alarm fire now. And no one's going to answer the alarm.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Let's change topics here and queer up drag culture. Here are the contestants for Secret Celebrity Drag Race. The second season of RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race has introduced a brand new format to the series that resembles The Masked Singer. The first season of Celebrity Drag Race was aired in 2020. The show featured 3 different celebs in each episode, and they competed through a speed round of regular RuPaul's Drag Race. The infamous contestants entered the workroom, hung out with other queens, got their makeup done, and then performed for the judges on the main stage, just like competing in a maxi challenge. But season 2 is different. In season 2, a cast of 9 celebrities compete week after week in lip sync performances. Each episode has a winner and a bottom 2, with one of the celebrities having to sashay away in the end. Like the Masked Singer, the contestants then reveal, or should it be revealed, their identities after their elimination from the competition. A mask successfully covers the identity of a contestant, and it actually becomes difficult to figure out who these celebs are behind their drag personas. Viewers are excited about each of the eliminations so that they finally know who each of the famous contestants on Celebrity Drag Race really is. Season 2 is winding down, and here are the celebrities that have been revealed so far. Fabulosity was revealed as Loretta Devine. Electra Al was Taylor Dane. Jackie Wood was Tom Felicia. Millie Von Sunshine was Jenna Ushkovitz. And Donna Bellissima was South Florida celebrity Daniel Francesi. With just 2 episodes left in the season, we have to find out if the winner will be Tatiana Ali as Chakra 7, Kevin McHale as Chick LaFay, AJ McLean as Poppy Love, or Mark Indelicato as Thirsty Von Trapp. I'm on the edge of my literal seat here.
Are you?
Well, as I just gave spoilers, I started watching on Paramount this week, and I have to say they've done an incredible job with the production. It is I'm a Masked Singer fan. I won't be afraid to say that here, and I love the format. The format is such an improvement from. I didn't actually watch the first season, but I accidentally started the first season and watched those, and I was like, oh, this is kind of lame. The new season is amazing, so cheers to them.
All right, good.
Excellent.
I wonder if that Utah candidate can be on the mask.
Oh, yeah.
She should have a mask on, but for other reasons.
Has anybody else watched Secret Celebrity?
I don't watch any of the Drag Race
Michelle.
franchise.
Okay.
We have a winner.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
Hi, I'm Chris Caputo, City Commissioner with Wilton Manors, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, we finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up entertainment. From LGBTQ plus news partner LGBTQ Nation and writer Francesco Bacci. What is happening as 2022 Queer TV faces significant cancellations? This year has been about Netflix's Heartstopper, a reboot of the U.S. version of Queer as Folk, and Hulu's Conversations with Friends, giving us authentic and original LGBTQ plus characters and narratives. But 2022 has also seen a purge of queer TV with streaming platforms such as Netflix, the CW, and HBO unceremoniously canceling many LGBTQ shows, breaking the hearts of their most ardent devotees. Two of the latest examples of these painful cancellations are BBC-HBO co-production Gentleman Jack and Netflix's First Kill. In July, HBO announced that the lesbian period drama was canceled. The next month, the supernatural sapphic love story First Kill was canceled by Netflix. Find out more at lgbtqnation.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up gay culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Out Traveler, how cruising for sex is thriving in a pandemic world and age of apps. For straight travelers, the world cruising may only mean traveling via cruise ship, but in queer culture, cruising has an entirely different meaning. It is the act of seeking sexual partners in public spaces such as parks, bathrooms, or alleyways. In a book named Cruising, An Intimate History of Radical Pastime, Alex Espinoza argues that the origins of the practice go back to ancient Greece. Cruising in England was documented in 1698 when the first recorded instance of entrapment involved a gay man lured to a private room in a London tavern. Once upon a time, cruising was the only way for gay men to meet other men for sex. Find out more at outtraveler.com.
In LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up the worldview. From LGBTQ plus news partner Queerty and writer David Hudson. Interesting celebration of Queen's funeral at London Bathhouse. A well-known gay bathhouse in London promoted much comment after announcing its plans to mark the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II yesterday. In a notice released, the bathhouse said, quote, "As a mark of respect of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, no music will be played within the spa and no films will be shown. Guests at the venue are invited to join us in a toast to His Majesty King Charles III," end quote. Many gyms and major grocery stores remain closed, even if only for 4 hours while the funeral took place. Pleasure Dome Spa Bar in Waterloo is the only gay venue in the entire country that stays open 24 hours, 365 days a year. Find out more about this interesting story at queerty.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up LGBTQ plus civil rights. From partner LGBTQ plus News and The Advocate and writer Trudy Ring. We ask if Born This Way has outlived its usefulness. The Born This Way concept has informed LGBTQ plus political messaging for decades, accepting that one's identity is intrinsic and can't be changed from outside. It's been used to argue against discrimination and conversion therapy. One of the latest to put this idea forth is author Julia Serrano. She recently wrote in Salon saying, quote, "Too many people seem to view that phrase through a lens of strict biological determinism, or presume that it means the number of LGBTQ people must be permanently fixed and static. Perhaps new language might circumvent these misconceptions moving forward," end quote. She suggested, quote, "Born This Way may no longer be the most effective way to counter the idea that anyone is able to turn anyone else away from the straight cisgender identity," end quote. Find out more at advocate.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up business. From LGBTQ plus news partner Pink News and writer Charlie Duncan. Zaya Wade premieres incredible Tiffany & Company campaign and fans love it. At just 15, Zaya Wade, the daughter of former NBA basketball star Dwayne Wade, has made a name for herself as an activist and advocate for trans rights. Even Michelle Obama is a fan. Now she is a rising model too. In newly released images, Zaya poses with a gold Tiffany bracelet. One Twitter handle said, quote, "So pretty, didn't even notice the bracelet. Sorry, Tiffany," end quote. With another replying, quote, "You know you are gorgeous when you make a Tiffany & Company bracelet look like a rubber band you put on your wrist at work and then forgot about it," end quote. Twitter users were mesmerized by Zaya's beauty and predicted a long and successful modeling career for her. Find out more at pinknews.co.uk.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Out and writer Bernardo Seam. Jinx Monsoon talks about World of Wonders, Sketchy Queens, a comedy series, And Jinx Monsoon is the host of this brand new sketch comedy. Sorry, we went sketch comedy. Jinx Monsoon is the brand new host of this sketch comedy called Sketchy Queens. It features a 2-time Snatch Game winner, Monsoon, doing several impersonations and creating over-the-top new characters. Various guest stars will also appear throughout this inaugural season, including All Stars 3 winner Trixie Mattel in the first episode. Sketchy Queens has all of the spark to captivate viewers and make them laugh throughout its 8 episodes. Jinx Monsoon talked with Out about her comedy references for the new series, her collaborative work with Krug, and the importance of bringing back a queer lens to the genre of sketch comedy. Find out more at out.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up gay culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Pride Source and writer Gem Zero. Understanding the joy and setbacks of the threesome experience. Gem Zero has talked openly about his threesome experiences in the known online LGBT newspaper named Pride Source. Gem identifies as polyamorous. He also shared some pros and cons of threesomes based on his experience of 9 years. In the article, he says, quote, "I've had threesomes with strangers, with friends, and within established polycules. In my 20s, I was down to fall in bed with almost any attractive, willing duo. There's endless fun to be had with multiple sex partners, new positions, new bodies, new kinks," end quote. He mentions that sexual adventure within a couple-based monogamous society is highly valued, especially when it involves escaping homophobia and transphobia. Zero also talks about the cons of threesomes that might turn the excitement off, such as jealousy and post-sex awkwardness, among others. Find out more at pridesource.com.
In LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up gay culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Out and writer Mikkel Street. Learn about male adult stars' life in reality show X-Rated. Out TV has started streaming X-Rated NYC, a series of 6 episodes that follows 4 male porn performers, Boomer Banks, Dante Cole, Joey Mills, and Max Connor, as they live their lives in New York City. They discuss everything from safe spaces to gay for pay and sniffies. Now seriously, there's a whole breakdown on sniffies and a lot more. There are a few sincere moments, a whole lot of drama, and a few moments that definitely put the acting in porn actors. Get it? But it's all in all an enjoyable watch, lightly getting to know some of the industry's biggest performers. Find out more at out.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up drag culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Pride and writer Bernardo Sim. Bob the Drag Queen drops TikTok music video, Bitch Like Me. Between the Emmy Award-winning HBO series We're Here, a hosting gig on The Pit Stop, a guest judge spot on the 3rd season of Legendary, and all of her digital content available on Patreon, YouTube, and other social media pages, Bob the Drag Queen is giving RuPaul's Drag Race fans everything they want. Bob is making her big comeback to music with a new original song titled Bitch Like Me. The lead singer from her upcoming EP, Bob said in a release, quote, "This single goes a lot harder than other things I've done before." Directed by the legendary Asad Yacoub, the music video for Bitch Like Me was entirely shot on iPhone and drew inspirations from TikTok transitions. Find more on pride.com.
That's it for today's news in the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Jamaal L. Starks, Jeff Oliverio, Scott Galvin, and Cindy Brown, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. On behalf of all of us here at Queer News Tonight, we wish you a
Good night.
Good night.
LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ